Okay, I think we can slowly start if everybody's okay. So a warm welcome from my side. My name is Sasha Petrovic. I'm a member of organization Zelena Tranzicija, which is part of this project. This webinar is part of the Caravan project, learning and sharing agroecology. And on today's webinar, I really have an honor to be present to share the floor with really three amazing persons who work who are the motors, I would say, of three really wonderful initiatives of the food communities. So as we've already mentioned in the introduction of the webinar, so today's scope, the goal of today's webinar is to hear out the stories from our panelists about their local food communities, how they deal with working both with producers and consumers for their mutual benefits and mutual interest, how they establish the initiatives towards more agroecological visions, how they make these synergies between producers and consumers. So today we have really an honor to hear. I would say I'm really happy to be with more Eastern stories because usually we hear a lot about successful Western Europe examples, or let's say so. So today we have a really possibility to hear what is happening on the East. So without further ado, I would leave the floor to our panelists. So Jehan, as agreed, you can step in, please.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you for everyone for organizing this wonderful webinar. And also thank you for inviting me, actually, in the name of the organization, our village organization, TADIA. And yeah, I'll be presenting TADIA today. Now I have a couple of slides, actually more than a couple. So my plan is to talk about the general outlook of TADIA first. And then if we have time for questions and answers, it will also be interesting, I guess, I hope. And then some specific questions as to how we bring consumers and producers together. I will try to reply by then. And now I would like to actually share these slides that I'm going to find in a minute with you. Yep. Yeah, here we are. I hope you can all see the slides. And how many minutes do I have for presenting these slides, excluding the questions and answers?
15, but if it's super interesting, we can extend it a bit.
No, I just planned for 15 minutes, but I just wanted to check. This TADIA collective, this is a village collective, as we call it, actually, a small producers organization. Let me give some basic information about TADIA. It's a village located in the northwest of Ankara, some 100 kilometers away from the center, at the outskirts of Köroğlu Mountains, that you can see actually the mountain series here. Which means that actually it does have a very vivid wildlife, which is an asset for us, but it's not in the forest itself. It's almost at the edge of the forest, so that it's a nice interface between this wildlife in the mountains and the human settlements that are more to the south. We have been operating since 2013, I could say, with this name. And it was a few years before that we, as some urban people, went to the village and started to know them, and they started to know us, and we started to work together. It's been now about 15 years, actually, the starting point. So it's a grassroots organization, which means that it doesn't have any formal definition. It's not a cooperative in that sense. It's not an association. It's just a grassroots organization that works with voluntary participation, mainly from the farmers, but also from the city people, as we will see. And it now currently includes 18 producer families, which make up more than maybe 60 people in terms of active workforce. It works in solidarity, indeed, and its aims are nature conservation, because there's a very nice nature worth protecting, nature-friendly production, direct food procurement, and also rural tourism. It has more than maybe 1,500 supporters that we sometimes also call prosumers in the slow food way, but sometimes supporters and sometimes clients or whatever, eaters, and mostly are from Ankara. We strive to produce fresh, healthy, high-quality foods with what we call human-scale family farming, and we offer a wide range of products with the possibilities of a single village. And we value this diversification of products that has been really to a very large extent, actually, because we think that this is really important for our future food security, this diversification of products. I will mention the types of products that we're producing. We're constantly learning and improving our production methods. And two of our priorities are harmony with nature and human health. We have a website which mainly with information in Turkish, but in the main page, actually, you will also see a link to a page with English information. It's Tahtacı Öğrencik. This is how we pronounce it in Turkish, Tahtacı Öğrencik. And this is Tadya is a short for Tahtacı Öğrencik Natural Living Collective. So we are part of a participatory guarantee system that is still being developed, actually, which is called the DBB Network, Natural Food Conscious Nutrition Network, which has producers all around Turkey, not to a very large extent, but still more than 20 active producers within this PGS. And we adopt the agroecological production criteria required by this network. And Tati itself is a local PGS, indeed, because it's open to the inspection of anyone, actually, and also not only the inspection, but in terms of solidarity, we are trying to build a principled PGS in the village. And direct sales are important for us, and lots of direct relations, and these relations serve both the producers and the supporters and the city people. It's because we learn a lot from each other. So you can also see some of the photos about the varieties of that we produce. So, of course, as expected, as I hope that many of you would expect, actually, we really adopt nature-friendly human-scale production methods, but we don't work with official organic certification. We did work at some time, but we find that it's not always that practical. We also value it in terms of the implementations in Turkey, but since we have our own PGS open to everyone, actually, we're trying to do it collectively. So, well, of course, polyculture is important for us because, as many of you know, it's important for food security, it's important for risk management, it's important for natural pest control. So polyculture is important for us. It makes nature-friendly or organic farming easier, actually, when you have polyculture. And we also value that the units of production, most of the families, sometimes single people also, 18 such units in Tadya. We also value their autonomy, actually. I mean, we are, so there was a question, it's in Ankara, by the way. I mean, it's in the city Ankara, northwest of Ankara, these farms, actually, this collection of farms, the village. We value the autonomy of the units of production of families for various reasons that I will actually talk about. And we don't say that, okay, we are now a collective and we will have a central mechanism of decisions and we will just do everything, do everything collectively, in the sense that you should be, you are liable to our methods, and of course, in terms of methods and productions and criteria, we all agree, but they are also autonomous in their decisions and in their sales, actually. And these producers are in TADIA because they believe in the merits of cooperation. And the majority of TADIA producers, a large majority of TADIA producers are women, and they actively participate in all processes. So visibility is important for us, actually, and accessibility, because we would like the supporters, we would like our prosumers to know where their products come from and can reach the producers so that they can build their own trust. Because trust is not a phenomenon that you can relegate to third parties, actually. So as is among the principles of all of us of community supported agriculture, also we value this one-to-one connections, and this is why actually we make all our producers visible and accessible. And these interactions, of course, contribute a lot to social integration and enable multiple forms of solidarity. So this is an example of our website where we put together with the photos our producer families, together with their own sometimes blogs and profile pages and phone numbers, etc., and a short description of what they produce, so that there will be this connection among the eaters and these producers. And as to governance and decision processes, we don't have a central decision-making mechanism. So topics are discussed in the correspondence group and mainly in the meetings, in the face-to-face meetings, and decisions are taken at the meetings. The meetings are open to everyone, actually, as observers. And we're doing quite a difficult job, actually, in the sense that we take all the decisions by consensus still, I would say. Because if we were just a few people, then consensus would be easier. And maybe you already know that there are results, there's research on the method of consensus, and it is proven that it doesn't work very effectively when you go beyond, let's say, 8 people or so. But we are here already 18 families, more than 60 people, but still insist on taking the decisions by consensus now. And there are 2 coordinators that are periodically elected to ease actually all these decision-making processes and relations with the outside world. And we write down all the principles and rules of collaboration, all the decisions, and publish them on the web for transparency. And as to product range, we are really lucky in one sense. We are not that much lucky in terms of the product season, because Ankara has a what we call continental climate, which means that it is very cold in the winters and very hot in the summers. So this really, this is kind of a disadvantage in one sense. But of course, it also has a lot of good sides also. Our villagers do not work for production, at least for vegetable production, at least for 4 months, and they deserve this. And they already have animals, actually. This is the famous Angora goat, actually, the mohair goat. And very different types of vegetables and fruits now is being produced. And also legumes, cereals, grain-based products, cheese varieties, milk, yogurt, meat and meat products, eggs, a bit of, not too big in scale, generally very limited, but we still have eggs from free chickens, lots of processed products in our lists. And yeah, something that's not here that will come actually about some collective work. So the first bullet is about collecting orders, doing some promotions, making announcements and deliveries, and this is a lot of work because our main instrument instrument for sales is nowadays at least delivery to home deliveries actually in a quite amateur way. A villager of ours which has quite an old actually van, and every week we collect orders and about 40, let's say about 40 orders, collective orders, and then we deliver them to the address. And this
Entregamos para endereços diversos.
Keeps it going economically. We also took place in farmers markets, but this is not very regular in Turkey, unfortunately. And there's also opportunity for people to come to the village and buy on the farm, etc. So we are trying to maximize also these ways. And we have regular internal inspections, stock counts, and clearly defined sanctions for potential violations. And prosumers can visit production sites. There have been lots of activities, festivals in the village, in the city, and we try to regularly report and evaluate what we do. So it's not always as smooth as it may appear here. Sometimes it's not that easy, and there are disruptions from many external factors and lack of time, etc. But still, we insist on implementing all of these. There have been lots of trainings for producers, together with the Buğday Association, together with other associations, in the context of some small-scale projects on hygiene and food safety, bread, cheese making, and etc., and numerous trainings on eco-friendly agriculture. And also we provided a lot of trainings for consumers on agroecology, PGS, CSA, how to inspect the CSA farm together with urgency, actually. We worked a lot. And many friends, including some of those here from the Mediterranean basin, actually, we had a chance to welcome them in our village, actually. But when it's about trainings, we don't really rely on that much on formal methods. We believe that the best kind of training is interaction. We try to structure those interactions, but we also let people to share what they know and what they value, so that there is this collective learning process. So yeah, almost the end. I hope I haven't exceeded my time. Well, rural tourism is an integral part of it. I mean, although sometimes we don't like to call it tourism because it looks too formal and it looks like naming a sector, you know, an economic sector. Well, this is just, you know, visits. And these visits really helped a lot with these interactions with urban people. Well, this is just a guess because we cannot really track it, but more than 3,000 people, I guess, in 10 years visited the village and the farms in more than 60 structured tours and also individual visits. In the recent times, we had more farm tourism activities. Some accommodation were available and eating facilities. They are not in a very professional level, but these are the starting phases for a sustainable farm tourism, actually. And the city group is also very active, and we really like to go to the village when we find time and a bit of money sometimes, because I mean, it takes quite a lot of fuel or, you know, money to go to the village 100 kilometers. But whenever we can, we go there. And there are friends, some among us actually, who are working academically on agroecology, on sociology, on gastronomy and other aspects of rural life. Yeah, we have such, you know, tiny little maps on the web, so that people can know where they can visit and what they can find in any of these agroecological production sites or the families. Yeah, we had breakfast festivals and many events, so I would be really very happy to see this international group in the village. We are used to that, and it's really very fun to have many people in the village. and our villagers really like to produce and then offer their products. Well, finally, what about the change that seems to have happened in the village since we started to work together with the villagers from the outset? I mean, we worked together with the villagers. And as you see in the slides, in some 10 years ago, there was only one family who produced vegetables above their own needs. But now at least 21 families cultivate vegetables, mostly local varieties, in about 50 acres of irrigated farming. And of course, we also have lots of unirrigated dry farming. And the number of cattle, for instance, can be a good indicator. It was about 500 with cubs in some 10 years ago, and nowadays it's close to 2,000. And the number of contracted indoor poultry farms decreased from 3 to 2, which is good still. And the number of chickens in free chicken farming reached around 1,600 from zero. And the production season has been extended. The product variety has increased. And despite difficulties with schooling and other difficulties, other social difficulties, many young people chose to stay in the village, and many returned to the village and started production, including some urban families, and accommodation opportunities emerged in terms of farm tourism. So we asked whether Tadri can really provide some kind of a model for similar initiatives. And we work for that also actively. I mean, we always try to promote this model as a sustainable and resilient model in the face of multiple crises, the prospective crisis. And you know, the production, distribution, and social relations are very different from industrial food systems. We have difficulties like labor-intensive production, but many of our producers are happy with this kind of labor. We have limited sales channels. We have a distance, quite a long distance to the center of Ankara, actually, which also puts some pressure on marketing. But we have lots of benefits like minimization of external inputs in terms of fertilizer, fuel, seed, pesticides, etc., and consequently protection of the soil, of agricultural resources, and of environment, resistance in production size to diseases and pests with polyculture, increasing product variety. I always emphasize this, you may have noticed, because this prolongation of the production season and increasing product variety is important for our future food security indeed. This in the small scale, human scale farming, adaptation to changing conditions, resilience in the face of climate crisis, direct selling with small producer exemptions, actually, I think is a good model. Lots of farmer-to-farmer interactions, better livelihood with rural tourism and other activities, and the empowerment of people, democratic self-governance at the local level are the assets that I think are there with the Tadri. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ceyhan. Wow, it's such an amazing story. I have a feeling like it's some agroecological utopia or agroecological fairyland. It seems you got it all covered in your initiative. So thank you very much for sharing your work. Now we head to Tunisia. I present Mohamed Ben Hassan from Tunisian Association of Permaculture, which are doing slightly similar work, if I might say, but I would say with the twist, because each initiative is unique. So, Mohamed, if you can introduce your work behind your initiative. Thank you. And please, let's just a disclaimer that to stick to 15 minutes presentation if possible, but we can always regulate it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for hosting this interesting webinar. It's really thrilling, to know and to hear about, others people, experience. So I'm just presenting myself. My name is Mohamed Ben Hassan. So I'm volunteering with the Tunisian Association for Permaculture. So I'm trying to adjust my speed. So I'm just volunteering, member of the board, team, and especially committee for the participatory guarantee system. So we are glad to hear. I'm coming with a small presentation, fit for this, presentation. This is a global, an overview of the project of the Tunisian, Association of Permaculture, which is called Plant Your Farm. It's like incentive for the young people, to plant, their small plots. And the Citizen Food Network, and the Peasant Seed, and My Food is Tunisian. So basically, all these, project of the Tunisian Association of Permaculture, there is like kind of cross-functional and cross-functionality. It means, each project is intertwined. So we are keeping control, on the process of this, building food communities, starting from the seed and the seedling system to the fork, because only is mainstreaming, all these attitude, all these projects are linked, intertwined together, and mainstreaming in one target. I would like to just present this Citizen Food Network project. And when I was exchanging with Rita, she asked me to choose between few questions, so I can, to try, to structure this presentation. I chose my first question, which is very, I think, important into my eyes. I picked it up, the first one, at what motivated me and the ATP to get involved in starting the Citizen Food Initiative. That's first. First, because it's emanating, this initiative is really emanating, is coming from actually a sense of injustice and discrimination. Because in Tunisia, we are a champion, for organic, farming and exporting. Justice from mostly both sides, because all these products are, not the target is the European Union market, the foreign market. Nobody is really caring about, the local Tunisian family, which is the regular guy working in the street. Everything is going, for export, high prices. Even middle-class families, I'm not talking about low-income families in Tunisia, they cannot afford organically or to buy on everyday, daily, or just once a week basis to buy, organic food, because most of there is speculation. All the extra virgin olive oils going to the North America, UK, dates the same. The prices are very high. And there's lately, in these past few years, there's Tunisia as well, there's a rise of the agroecology movement and ecological movement in Tunisia. But there's financial and technical barriers, impacting those, this movement. The reason why, because the third parties and the big organizations for certification of the organic food, those third-party certification, it's a big business, whether in Europe or in Tunisia or in certifying organization, became a norm in most, country, we are excluding the small farmers and the small, stakeholders of the farm, because there's green funds, whether by Tunisian bank. If you have hundreds and hundreds of acres, you are welcome, because all these, green funds, even by the European Union, even by the German international cooperation, Italian international cooperation, the French Agency for Development, are only profiting the big business, the large, farm holders. Okay, exports, just investing and it's becoming kind of speculation. And when we are really seeing those people small farming, it's like they don't want to get involved into this movement, but because financially and the technical barriers that those organisms to engage in the certification, including paperwork and cost, without mentioning the access to the land by women and by young people, because now there's speculations. Rich people, and let's say rich people are buying lands, and there's like speculation. So for moderate income farmers, they cannot participate and thus impact the agroecology and permaculture movement, in Tunisia. So this is from an equity and fair and impartial, point of view that we are engaging in this citizen food, network, and we call it in those local market. Basically, it's an egalitarian approach, because the agro-business and big business of the organic food in Tunisia is well structured. They have their own union for organic producers and transformers, which is called Unibio. They have the general board within the Ministry of Agriculture, which is called DGAAB. And they have a center of technical agriculture in Suez called TICTAB, which is created in the mid-90s, by the way. And there's like a mutual recognition of organically certified products in Europe and Switzerland and UK. So, but for the small, I said, how about the small, holders? How about the small, farming, that they are really feeding the local people, and they are not feeding, the trendy consumers in North America or in North Europe or in Germany, with all due respect, of course, to these people. So we just try to start this PGS, participatory, guarantee system, and we are trying to adjust it to our, local, which is I'm just sharing the International Farming Organization of Organic Food Agriculture Movement, IFOAM, which is a system, our locally focused quality assuring system. They certify producers based on active participation of stakeholders, which is and are built on the foundation of trust, social network, and knowledge exchange, of course. So in this regard, so this is a locally focused quality insurance system. They certify producers without recourse to the extra cost of these certifying organization and third parties, because we would like to develop a local organic market. Even the methodology and process varies, because we are invited. This was not like this is a sharing process between farmers, consumers, and communities. And we came up with this label, which is citizen like food. Creation of label was a fruit of so many roundtables, just our physical. In addition, to the meeting and discussion on social medias and on the local press and alternative media in Tunisia, to fix the terms and specification of sustainable production, which were drafted by consumers and producers, because we do believe in the importance of the community when they come together, when they put hand in hand together, and the outcome of the collective, let's say, intelligence when it comes. So the label, which is include, the specification, and they have a visual identity, of course, and submitted to the National Institute of Intellectual Properties. It cost us, quite some time, money, and investment, to actually certify it, to certify. And now we created, with this kind of like some local markets within the we call it ultra short and supply chain and short distribution channels. It means we are reducing the number of intermediaries in between the producer, direct, from the producer and the consumers. So it's like we have only one intermediary, which is the ATP is the stakeholder, is the platform that connecting the producers in Tunis area, it's like within, and the consumers. Concerning Tunis market, I'm sharing with you a picture of a consumer market in Tunis. So you can see those like helping themselves, like consumers, members of the consumer club in Tunisia, just helping themselves and helping installing the markets, themselves. And most of the, our food travels a lot, and it has a large impact of carbon footprint, water footprint. So by the creation of this market, we're trying to, minimize the impact of carbon footprints on, our food product, because it travels a lot. Our food travels a lot, whether coming via containers from abroad or via centralized long distribution supply chains. So for each we are dividing the country in each city, and we are regions, 4 or 5 regions, the northeast, northwest, center east, center west, and the south. And around each city we are putting we are putting few farmers producing small scale farmers. We are putting in connection with a family within an array of like 30-40 kilometers, no more, just to protect or to have more sustainable and more viable and eco-friendly consuming system. So here the same, I'm sharing a picture with our transition shop in Tunis. We call it transition because it's everything, it's plastic free, local market. We don't distribute single-use plastic, containers and wrapping, to the consumers. And we are trying to encourage people to bring their own containers. Everything is in a glass, for more sustainable. That's why you call it transition. And here the market in Bizerte as well. It was created within elementary school, so it's very practical. The parents, come to, take back, their kids, and meanwhile, so they find, close by, producers, exposing, their freshly produced products without any chemical, inputs. So it's very practical. I'm gonna grab the kids back from the school, and at the same time I'm gonna get some lettuce and veggies, for dinner. And we are targeting as well. We are here working not for food security, but for us for food sovereignty. From the seed, to the from the seed from fork, to farm, because there is like in recent year there was like a disruptive and way of consumption and wild capitalism. They disrupted the heritage of the local seed varieties and the genetic heritage of
Mohammed, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think your audio just cut out. Maybe you disconnected. Yep, we still cannot hear.
Still on. Okay.
Might be coming back.
It's fine.
I can hear Mohammed. Yeah.
Fine, thank you guys. So our like as I said, it's coming from the seedling. We are working on different levels, but all the project are streaming. We are starting from the seedling system because we are controlling from the peasant seed to protect this local genetic heritage. It was not an easy start because most of the time, if you see, most of the time the seeds are imported from outside when it comes especially to wheat from United States or from major European and American big food system. So from the best to encourage our farmers, the producers they are working with to multiply local seeds that work better with the local condition of the soil and drought and weather condition. With the Plant Your Farm,
I'm sorry, Mohammed. I hate to break in once more time. I think maybe the microphone's falling onto your. Are you using the microphone that's on the earbuds?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Still
Maybe if
fine.
you just hold it close to your mouth, that would be a little bit better.
Thank you. So even from seeds, to the bucket, farmers in the project Plant Your Farm, which we supply them and with local varieties, no GMOs, of course, no F1 hybrid. We can avoid it to the maximum till the production, which we supervise and of course we are trying to vulgarize and outreach the principle of sustainable agricultural practices to our farmers. And all these products they are by the way displayed in local weekly markets, which we control via a document which we specify the terms and the specification of the products and the good practices, as well from the fair wage pay for men and women. And among these principle is to just formally out and corp organization, soil conservation, appropriate choice of seeds, of course irrigation, pest control, and especially on farm waste management and working conditions on the farm. This is like basically the presentation, what's all about. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mohammed. I also completely feel like that your experiences with organic lobby and the whole thing. I can say also in Eastern Europe that organic food is not accessible even to middle class anymore.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think we are all here interested in trying to build food communities to make the healthy food more financially accessible, because as we all come from lower income, or as they like to call us, undeveloped countries or whatever they like it, I think that the question of financial accessibility to healthy food is like major issue, both in Tunis, I guess in Turkey, as in Serbia as well. So we will now go back north to Serbia or to East Europe. I present you, I can also tell my colleague Ana Nešić, who is the core behind the initiative, the small-scale producers of food in Serbia. Without further ado, because she is much better in presenting than me, I leave the floor to you, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha, for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to speak here. It's a pleasure, and I enjoyed listening to the previous presentations. Can you all see my screen now? Yeah. Okay, so I'm Anna. I come from Serbia. where I lead and I'm the founder of the platform called Small Food Producers, or as Sasha would correct me, small scale food producers. And I will present what we do. It's a slightly different story and a model, and the model from what we've heard from the two previous presenters. We are not that oriented to the eco-agriculture. We are a marketplace that is connecting the food producers from the rural areas of Serbia with the consumers, or as my colleague here, the presenter, would say, eaters in the larger cities. I really like that, eaters, because everybody that uses our platform really likes food, and it's all a very large group of foodies that are following us and buying on our marketplace. So the small food producers, as I said, essentially connects the producers from the smaller cities or villages in Serbia with consumers who are mainly in Belgrade, which is the capital of Serbia. And essentially, there is a culture of green markets here in Serbia, and people really loving buying the locally produced food. So the reason why I founded this platform in 2019 was, among other reasons that I will talk about later on in my presentation, is basically because I'm living in Belgrade, and because my access to the locally produced foods in Serbia, which is a land of agriculture, there's a lot of farms and people who are in agriculture in Serbia. But if you live in a big city like Belgrade, there is a very limited access for you to get to the locally produced food. There are obviously supermarkets on every corner, but the quality of the food and the sustainability of the food that is in the markets is nowhere near the food that is produced locally and by the hand of somebody who has a small piece of land and that puts heart and soul into producing that food. So what we did in 2019 is that we started up as a Facebook group. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of Facebook groups. It's a really amazing way to start up a community. And just before I started up the group that will actually connect the producers with the consumers in Belgrade, I was running a food blog where I already had like a base, the audience that was following me, and where I was talking to about the local producers and how they're better, the green markets, how they're better than the supermarkets. So in 2019, just before COVID, when I started up the group, I had the basic following and people who came out to be ambassadors for our platform later on. Starting up this group in 2019 was it was just pure luck, but it turned out it was a really good move because it happened just before the pandemics, the COVID. So here in Serbia, once the COVID started, the green markets that are very popular here, we have green markets almost in every neighborhood in Belgrade and in each city in Serbia. So people weren't able to get through to the green markets where they can get like fresh produce, fresh vegetables, fruits, cheeses, etc. So our group on Facebook served them as a green market, which was online. So that's how our group grew, like instantly in the COVID lockdowns, which was, as I said, it was probably a little bit of luck, and it was a little bit of good moves from our end, from the administration end. And in the meantime, we actually, in the past 4 years, have helped almost 1,800 producers sell their products through our platform, which now is not only a Facebook group, it's also a website that has more information about the producers. We have the Facebook group at the moment has 138,000 people, which are mostly buyers, consumers. And we have a pretty significant growth on our website. We're trying to develop our website further. So it's, we're trying to move things away from Facebook group to the website so we can make it even more sustainable, so we can control different factors like how you can filter out the producers, how you can leave reviews, etc. So when it comes to like the technical part of how it works, we serve as a platform where the producers are presenting their products, meaning posting ads where they present themselves. They say, if, for example, I'm a strawberry producer, strawberries are now in season here in Serbia. If I'm a strawberry producer, I will come to our platform. We first create a listing on our website, which serves like a little ID for yourself if you're presenting to people in our group, on our platform. And then you would post an ad saying, here I have the family owned business of producing strawberries. We do it for, ages in our family. You tell a little story about what you do, why your strawberries are so sweet and delicious. And then you would tell people about the prices, where they can pick them up, and all of the other details like sharing quality images of your products, etc. On the other hand, we have consumers who are using our website and Facebook group, and they see the product, they will contact the producer directly, which means that we don't have any, we are not serving as intermediary between the producer and the consumer. We're just providing them with space to communicate directly between each other, which means that basically the producers will communicate with the consumers and will do the deliveries after that, and will take 100% of the revenue. The model is basically that we work as an association. We're registered as an association, and we take membership fees, which are relatively small. They're about, if you advertise each month in a year, you will pay around 100 euros to be a member of our platform. It's even maybe less when you calculate it to euros, but it's, if you want to advertise only 1 month, it's around 20 euros, let's say, to start off, and then 10 euros per month after that, after we set you up. So it's not a big investment for the producers if they have a really good product, and if they know how to build a story around their brand. It's pretty easy and convenient for them to communicate with the customers, to sell products, and to have really nice profits out of this. I added a few of the screenshots of what our website looks like. These are some of the producers. You can see jam producers, sheep cheese, there's hummus, another cheese, strawberries, etc. Asparagus is now in season. So there's on our website right now is around 180 producers that are in our association. And this is, for example, what a listing looks like. For one strawberry producer, there's their name, contact information number. You can send them a message directly through our website. So you can check it out and use Google Translate to see what these people say and how it works. But I think it's a pretty convenient and nice model. I've already mentioned that they take 100% of the revenue, and we also help them with the market with consumers that are in our database. We help them with some sort of education, with marketing, with information about financing for the farms. And we always try to innovate to have as many as possible new things on the website to help them sell more, to build their own brands, to present themselves better. And it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling for me as a founder of the platform to see producers improve over time and hear their stories about how they improved not only their products, their businesses, but also their personal lives by, building the businesses that they built through our platform. And on the other hand, the consumers really like our platform because they have direct access to the trusted people in the villages. They have access to products created with traditional recipes and high quality products that they can always try. I think it's worth mentioning that we have so many different products on our platform. It's like from raw food, like fruits and vegetables. You've seen strawberries and asparagus, and there's apples and potatoes and sweet potatoes, whatnot. Then we have lots of cheeses and products from meat, jams, pickled food, etc. And it's also, I think, the people that buy on our platform, the consumers, they really like the variety and all of the new flavors they can try through the platform, having in mind that we have so many producers and all of them always try to innovate and to have new products in their offer. And I answered to a few of the questions that the organizers asked us to answer on this presentation. And the first one is what provoked me. And I have to agree with Mohammed that one of the motives was the inequality and the fact that here in Serbia, lots of the food producers have always been marginalized. I come from a family of people who worked in agriculture. My mom's side is from a village where they produce potatoes and cheese. And ever since I was little, I've seen them suffer. They always were worried whether they're going to be able to sell the products. They were always working so hard, and they were looking at the sky to see if this year they're going to have, the possibility, usually just to sell the products. It's the part of it whether the crops are going to grow, if the year is going to be good is one, but then when you have the quality product and you cannot sell it, it's even worse. You have to let it go to waste if the government at least is not going to help you get the products sold, or if there are not any opportunities. So that's one of my motives. And the other is because me personally, I needed a platform like this because now I live in a big city. And I still want to have access to products that are high quality and delicious and locally grown. And as a part of my, personal mission and professional mission to live more sustainably, I think this is a good thing for everybody. And to answer the question about the trust, I think that in Serbia, I think that these questions are very market specific and country specific. In Serbia, there's a massive distrust in the system, in the institutions. So people don't trust the government, people don't trust the institutions. And when they can support the citizen-led initiatives like the one that I run, they're more than happy to do so because they feel like they're doing something good for one single person or the family that is producing that food that they're going to buy today. And that's why I believe that they have a really, really big trust in us, in our platform, and in the producers that we promote, because they feel like they're, getting away from the system that they don't like, and they're giving their trust to the people who are just like them, who are sometimes victims of the system that is not working properly. And lastly, a bit about how our initiative has changed the habits in our community. I think that we definitely did change the way that people get their food, at least in Belgrade. There's a lot of people that are using or have used our services, our platform, to get through to the high quality food from the local farmers. But I think that the COVID pandemic has helped us tremendously there. It's also a matter of the trust and the change with Serbian people. We don't like change that much, and I think that something like the pandemics and the total block of access to the green markets at that point has moved people towards using our platform. So if that hasn't happened, I'm not sure if we would have been so successful. So the COVID pandemics did have something that was positive in the end, and that's people moving towards using the internet, or in this case, social media, internet websites, to start to try a different way of buying, getting through to their food, to their products that they're using in everyday life. And it's been 3 years since the pandemics, but they're still using our services, and they're basically going an extra mile to communicate with the producers, to wait for them for the deliveries, etc. Just because they like the products and they want to support the small food producers who they feel are like their extended family, I would say. So yeah, that was pretty much it from me.
Thank you, Anna, so much. I would just add for the clarity that your platform is not a web shop. You are not charging fees for the sold products. As you said, 100% revenues goes in the pocket of the producer. So thank you so much for your brilliant work behind the platform. So we had really in 3 different but very similar also in some way. I would say that the main difference is maybe in the scales, because as we've seen with Tadia, I would say it's more like building a rural and urban connections, specifically 1 village and 1 city. In Tunisian example, I would say we have like something like a nationwide movement, or at least streaming towards it. Also in Serbian case, it's not a classical agroecological, but it's a mixture of various. There are organics, there are conventional. But in Serbian case, the main logic behind the platform was to facilitate access for the urban population to buy products directly from the local farmers. So thank you, all the 3 of you. It was for me at least, it was a pleasure to hear your experiences. So now slowly we can open the floor for the questions. Just give me a second to get the first question. Was from yeah, Liliana Pinto from Portugal. Hi, Liliana. Her question is, what is the area of farm? That was addressed for you, Ceyhan, when you were speaking. So if you can step in. What is the area of the farms in your initiative?
Yeah. Well, I first understood the question in terms of in which area the farms are located, and I said Ankara, a village. But then I also understand from the continuation of the question that Liliana, hi, by the way, missed you, is asking about the average size of the farms, probably. Otherwise, yeah, the farms are located in a village, Tahtajörenlik village in the northwest of Ankara, and it's really human scale production in the sense that each family has a land starting from, let's say, half a decar to maybe maximum 20 decars, okay, in terms of irrigated agriculture. Legumes, etc. But in terms of course, non-irrigated land, it's much more. But generally, it's very small scale, and they often have their own areas. They also collaborate sometimes if they find a good place, good plot to work together. 2 or 3 families can work together in the season. But in general, they have their own gardens or small plots of land. As I told you, it's from half a decar to 20 decars. But since they are doing also polyculture, they have poultry, and they also have a few cows, etc. And the small scale is generally enough for them to feed themselves and also sell the excess.
Thank you, Ceyhan. Liliana had also one other question. How are the field managed by the families? If I get it correct, since they are 18, supposing that your food sustainability comes also from your work.
Yeah, well, again, if I understood correctly, otherwise Liliana can correct me. Since generally they work in their own lands, we don't have any trouble in terms of managing the land. Because they are not working on the same land. It's not just, you know, a piece of big land and people are working there, but they have their own plots. But sometimes, of course, I mean, they negotiate, because there are some pieces of land which you can irrigate, but that belongs to almost no one, or that belongs to too many people. There are lots of problems in terms of this. I mean, there's a piece of land, a good piece of land, but there are hundreds of owners and you can't find them and nobody can claim ownership. Then it's just a matter of negotiation. I will just plant this area this year and you that area, or let's do it together. So it's just, you know, there is no central negotiation mechanism. People just talk and sometimes fight a bit, but then in the end, they find ways to go on. So we don't have any central management plan in that sense.
Okay, one more question for you, Ceyhan. You are so popular. So, hello, Ceyhan. Do you have any seeds of traditional varieties, exchange events for the members of your community? And also, do you promote any training activities to exchange knowledge and good organic agricultural practices among the farmer families?
Yeah, for the first part, well, in Turkey, for at least about 15 years, we have a very lively, vivid movement of heirloom seeds, happily. And this is not, of course, on the side of government, on the side of the state, because they've been trying to ban actually the selling of the traditional varieties. Actually, they required a lot of formalities for the selling of seeds, which really favored big companies and seed companies. But there were at the same time a reverse direction movement from the society, a grassroots movement for at least, I can say 20 years maybe. And especially before the pandemic. After the pandemic, you know, everything is a bit weirder than before. But we regularly have such small or bigger events, sometimes led by the municipalities, where people, farmers, share their seeds. They don't sell, and we also do not sell, but we share our seeds with people among the producers in Tadya. And personally, myself, I've been in this, actually, I really liked to collect local varieties. And now, yeah, we feel safer in that sense, because in all around Turkey, there are lots of small-scale producers who are actively doing agriculture with traditional seeds. So in that sense, yeah, and we also had some more structured exchange events. And second part, the training activities for exchanging knowledge and good practices. Yeah, we also have it actually. And one of the last projects that we did with Suyader, an organization in Ankara for sustainable living, and our smaller organization, we tried to bring together various farmers in Ankara from various districts. And both in the city and in the villages, we held some meetings where we enabled actually these kinds of exchanges. But again, I mean, rather than just presenting some material or just talking a lot or giving a conference, we generally structure it a bit and then let them, you know, share their ideas and their practices. This is also one of our ongoing projects, actually, because what we want from now on is just to disseminate such models. Because in one village, we cannot grow too much, and we don't want to grow, actually, in the sense that, you know, having, of course, I mean, we would like to have more producers from the village, but we have our boundaries, and we like this, actually. What we want actually is to have export our knowledge and also learn from other initiatives in other villages. That's not coming too easily, unfortunately, but in general, this is what we want to do, and we do organize activities for mutual learning. Yeah.
Thank you, Ceyhan. So the next one is from Osman Topçu. Please don't feel offended if I didn't pronounce it well. So how do you this is a big question. How do you guys deal with the corporation selling pesticide, herbicides, synthetic fertilizers, and hybrid seeds? Whoever feels welcome to answer the question or step in, please. I mean, somebody of our panelists.
This is unfortunately not my area of expertise, and since we're, you know, more of a commercial marketplace, so I would leave it to my other colleagues to tackle this question.
Well, if nobody doesn't feel like answering to it, I mean, it is definitely a complex answer, and there is no straightforward answer. So if somebody wants, maybe you, Ceyhan or Mohammed, to share your insights or your strategies and tactics.
I will have something to say, but if Mohammed, if you're prepared to say something, please go on.
Ceyhan, carry on. It's fine. I'm listening to you, actually. Please go ahead. You can.
Okay. Well, actually, Osman is one of our friends, one of our urban friends who partly moved to the village, actually. He's working as an engineer in Ankara, actually, and together with his family, he went to the village and started a permaculture farm, actually. He's going slowly, but I think very firmly. So why am I saying this? Just to greet him, first of all, and also to say that actually these efforts really take time. I mean, Osman can tell you actually in detail how he's passionate in you know, transforming his farm into a full-fledged permaculture natural farm. And similarly, we have to be patient in that sense, because these changes do not come very easily. But Osman is working there in the farm. We are working for organizing things, and our villagers are working to influence others also. And at some point, I think there will be this boiling point, and then we'll be much more strong than we are now. So this is the impression that I have actually when I see this question. By these little efforts coming together and more in the wider scale, I think we will achieve things.
Okay, thank you, Ceyhan. Next one is also from Osman. So, this is an interesting one. How do you guys get all the participants in your network on the same page? Are there guys not obeying the rules? For sure there are.
I can answer this one because I have a really huge network of producers, and when we first started, we didn't have many rules. Obviously, it was just a work in progress. People were figuring things out. We were figuring things out when we first started. So we started first in our Facebook group to introduce some of the rules on how they should post the ads, how they should present themselves. I mean, with the intention of helping them get as many sales as possible to present themselves. I mean, all of the all of the rules that we were adding on our platform were always towards being better, individually producers and us as a platform. So we never introduced any rules just for the sake of rules, obviously. So I think that that's something that the producers recognized. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that when the producer has a really huge benefit of being a part of the platform, in this case, meaning that they can sell lots of their products, many more than they could ever before this type of platform existed, they will gladly join us and listen and obey to the rules that we set. None of these rules are any, big rules, so we don't ask them to do anything really big. But I think that it comes down to them trusting us to do things that are good for them, and them having benefit of being a part of the platform, whatever our rules are. So I think we had a long enough period to show them that they can trust us, that we do things in their best interest. And hence, we have lots of people who are gladly joining us in whatever we do. Of course, there are people who don't really want to follow us, create listings on our website or pay the membership to be a part of our association. And we're totally fine with that. Nobody has to work with us. It leaves us with a group of people who are really, really interested in working with us on creating something that's really good. So we're thankful to the people who don't want to obey our rules, because we're left with the people who really want to work with us and who will invest themselves and be a really good part of the community. So yeah.
Thank you, Anna. The next question is for Mohammed. So what would be the average size of a small farm in Tunisia? That's one question. And the other question was it difficult to start the PGS, for instance, on definition of criteria and indicators that farms should follow? What are the consumers' feedback on your PGS? Do you feel an interest and satisfaction with such alternative system? Do they consumers take frequently part on it? So,
yeah. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, guys. So just to start, is the average size of small farm in Tunisia is 1 to 2 hectares, which is equivalent basically to 2 or 4.5 acres. This is the average. The majority of farm owners in Tunisia, that is feeding the population, that is the production system, dedicated to feed the local market, not to export. They are between 1 to 2 hectares and 2 to 4.5 acres, basically. It's like 90%. And you are welcome, guys, even to come to visit us and to witness that, because on the field. And hope I answered the first question. The second one was it difficult to start the PGS? At the start, yes, because if you go, like we are coming, to Tunisia, if you go to any local supermarket, you'll find like potatoes, tomatoes, and corn, and you cannot track, which there is no traceability. You cannot, you have no information about how your food is produced, in which condition, in what farm, is it imported, is it local? There is like a mixture, an amalgam. And when we came suddenly, I said, hey guys, how about, you will know exactly who produced your tomato that you're gonna use for your salad, and where exactly, we are given the location, who's the guy, and how it is produced. So first, it's something novel, maybe not, in Tunisia. Even I'm talking about the modern, distribution and supply chain, like all the international, like Carrefour, Monoprix, and whatever. When you go inside, you find tomato and price and put. So at the start, it's like something novel, for the PGS. We are fixing, how the veggies and fruit, fresh veggies and fruit are produced, and which condition and who they are. So first we started like round tables and asking people, hey, how would you like your egg or your tomato be produced? How about that? So at first we are starting to build up, a little bit, and to spread this information first, and to propagate, the knowledge, about that. And suddenly, when we invited people, they are reacting positively, actually. Especially, they want really to get involved. If you give them the chance, because most of the time, consumers, they ask it only to pay, pass to the cashier only. This is the only, way how consumers are treated, by the way, in most, I'm talking about Tunisia at least, but they're not get involved. But people, they loved, actually, they were thrilled to be involved. They just were delighted. Oh, I can, participate. And for the terms and specification we are fixing, producers are engaged to adopt an open door policies, for their farms. It means me or any part of the consumer, member club of Tunis or BZ, we can buy a cornflour just in a weekend. Hey, Slim, or hey, Iman, can I come over to pass a day or 2 hours in the farm? And they are, engaged to receive consumers, so they can see really what's happening and all the good practice and sustain how they produce, how their food is produced, so they can go into the farm, which is within half an hour, drive, from their homes, because we are involved in a short, circuit, a supply chain, which is within 20-30 kilometers, by the way. And so the start was that something novel, but after that we are developing. See, we started, a local farmer market in Tunis, and now we have another one in Bizerte, which is up north, 60 kilometers away from the capital city, Tunis. And we just opening this week, the one in Tabarka. It's a small town as well in the northwest of Tunisia. So, the echo is there. As long as we are making them, we don't maybe really sit consumers, but we are making them, as an active, participant in shaping, the food and the product that they are consuming. So at first was not, but now there's a spread and echo going on. Even there are people asking us, why there's no such market in which city and that city. And in preparing now Plant Your Farm, we are in season 3. So we are going really into deep in the deep land in Tunisia, in Caravan and Gafsa. And by starting, in permaculture and agriculture, farms, to start, the production first, we need to ensure, the production we can link in the future, few 10 to 20 families to connect them directly with, this producer to spread out, the agroecology movement in Tunisia. This is the second. And consumer feedback on the PGS, yes, they were thrilled, because we involved them in the writing of the documents to establish the the condition and the terms in which their products are their fruits and vegetables and produced. And we mail them. We ask for their feedback, and now we are preparing, terms and specification, DOC for freshly produced, egg farms, and we are sending, mails in the document to a variety, of people, and we take, into consideration their feedbacks, and we're trying to, establish a consensus or a global, and holistic view of the better approach on how to producing food, and have a control on the quality of the freshly produced food. They get really involved in each step, and even, by the way, they meet directly every week, the producers, in a short circuit, even so they can give the feedback directly when it comes to the taste, to the quality, and to the pricing of their product directly, without passing by service, or custom service, department. It's just straight away. We have direct contact. They know their producers, they know their farmers, and they tell them, hey, Slim, I appreciate that. I like that, or I did not like that. So it's like, it's creating really a bond and connection between consumers and producers to in the process of mutual learning, and so we can advance and progress all together, just hand in hand. Especially when they are thrilled because no GMOs are involved in the in the production of their fresh and vegetables. Only free reproducible seeds we are fighting for on those marketplace. Probably hybrid we can accept, but no GMOs at all. No GMOs at all. Thank you.
Mohammed, very elaborated answer. Thank you. So we are almost close to the end. So I would like to quickly, we still have some more questions, but I would give preference to the people who are who haven't posed the question yet. So we have anonymous participant. Says, for our Tunisian speaker, considering the recent water shortage problem in your country, how are small farmers adapting to it?
Yeah, thank you, this anonymous. Thank you, everybody. Now we are rationing, really. The authorities are rationing on water, distribution in several cities. So by 10, there is no. If you open the tap, there is no water because there is no rain. Lately in the month of it was a dry April month, really dry March. So for this, our back it up producer and small scale farming, they are actually coping much better with a huge and because the impact now we are sensing on a huge and large scaling farm. Because we are starting from the base, because we are inciting and encourage farmers to adopt more sustainable agrarian and healthy practice and agroforestry. We encourage mulching because the soil don't like nudity, not like us. They don't like to suntan. The soil is not in direct contact. For the permaculture farm, backed up by Tunisian Permaculture Association. So the soil is really mulched everywhere, and we are using local biomass too. And we encourage no tilling. So there is no tilling and plowing. According to the permaculture principle, there is like swales and how you're gonna manage in the design of the farm, on small farm. Donc really, they are very resilient. And by the way, on the recent year of this big agrophic intensive agriculture, okay, water is there, chemical inputs and fertilizer in there. So we didn't give the chance, for the plants, to adopt. In case of any, there's like water shortage or whatever, there is no. But when it comes, to the to our beneficiary, we are using local varieties, which is more adapted to the terroir, to the weather condition, and to the soil. And by adapting, those permaculturist and agroforestry and agroecology practice, they are preserving, even that little quantity of, of water that is receiving from the sky. And because the soil is not nude in our, back up, farmers, it's really mulched and orientation, of the sun, of the wind. So we are protecting the soil, because if you have a healthy and composted, and soil, it's we don't you don't need really to amend, and your crop resists much better, to the conventional, practices and agriculture. What I mean.
Thank you, Mohammed. I would kindly ask you, if all of three of you, if it's okay to leave the contact details for any further question, if that's fine for you, and maybe we can we can finish our session with the last question, which makes sense because it's probably different from context to context. So it's once again Liliana Pinto. What do you mean by small-scale producers from rural areas? How do you characterize it?
I was asked this question before, and I usually tell people that we don't have a limit on how small you can be to join us, but Obviously, all of the producers that are on our platform are not industries. They don't have these big productions. They're usually registered as farms here in Serbia. And the minimum for you to register a farm is, I think, half a hectare, Sasha, right? Like, or maybe 1 hectare. So it's a very small piece of land. And these people that work with us are usually families. They're family-owned businesses. We don't have a specific process to differentiate if somebody is okay to be on our platform, because we never had any big industry player join us and tell us we want to join you, but we're, you know, Mondelez. It doesn't happen, honestly. It's only the small ones. So yeah, it's family-owned businesses with a smaller piece of land.
Thank you. Mondelez, Anna, is a really fun and good example. So thank you.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add something from our context. Actually, yes, I mean, this definition of small scale is very much context sensitive. It also depends on what kinds of products you are producing. It's widely different for just legumes and versus, let's say, fruit versus vegetables. And FAO actually has some guides. I mean, FAO has some publications that tries to define this minimum limits for small scale category. This has been an issue in our networks also, in the DBB, PGS also, it has been an issue. Finally, we adopted a more, you know, socio-economic kind of, or labor-related definition, which also has place in some economic theories of agriculture, actually. So we define human scale. So this is a term that I already used, maybe you have noticed. Rather than small scale, now we use the term human scale to denote actually the kind of farming that's manageable by the own resources, own labor resources of the unit, at least predominantly. And from time to time, those people may need some extra force, and it may be a bit of a mixed model. But if you use a lot of, or if you consistently use some labor, paid labor, then it becomes, in our view, a bit of not that much of a human scale agriculture. So we define the scale in terms of the sufficiency of the own labor resources of the production unit.
Yes, Jihan, I agree. Donc, most of this farm scale, like a human scale, is very important, and even heavy machinery is not, you know, used because they don't have simply access. Whether the resources, money to buy huge, those machineries, or even on the size. Even there is like a financial exclusion. That's why, because financial and the back, those small scale farming. I think even in Turkey, Tunisia, or Serbia, they don't have access to finance from the banks or big institution or big let's say big financial and big food. So only it's like a small scale family farming scale, or even we have couples, just small families working on their, or families working in their simply farms and plots.
Thank you very much. I think we can stop here. I will just allow myself to give a final remark. So thank you once again, all the three of you. It's really amazing work you've done and amazing initiatives. I would just like to underline that there are many motives, both for consumers and producers, to be part of the food communities. But I really think that biggest motive is like that people want to be part of some healthier alternative. As they say, capitalism with the human face, food communities are agriculture with a human face. It's not like industrial conventional system where we're completely detached from the production, from the people who produce. in food communities, you get to know your farmers, you know what are their names, how many kids do they have, the size of their land, and I mean it has very much human attachment. So I think it is kind of, you know, filling up your heart with good emotions, besides many economic and ecological and social benefits, which we emphasized during this talk. But I think there is also a bit of a soul feeling in food community stories. So
I totally agree, Sasha. Sorry to interrupt you. And I like to say that our platform is run by emotions, you know, run by beautiful stories. So that's totally true.
okay, thank you once again. It was my pleasure, and see you in the next episode.
شكرا تشكرات كوالا to everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Dobry wieczór, bonne nuit.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.